What's up guys, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is going to be another challenge chat where I talk about MTV's The Challenge Total Madness. So here we are at episode 12, and again, just like last week, it seems like Dee has been cut out of all of the footage. Now it appears MTV did put that statement at the beginning of the episode again, just like they did last week, basically saying that they had cut ties with Dee and she would no longer be affiliated with MTV. Now, despite this disclaimer at the beginning, it seems like she is still cut out of most of the footage, which again kind of just messes up the storyline. If they've already announced that they've cut ties with her, then I feel like they can just air the footage as is. I mean, if anything, it would probably portray her as more of a villain. It's almost giving her an easy way out when they just completely cut her from the show. So pretty much this episode shows Melissa being upset with Bananas and Josh for both saying Dee's name, but of course Melissa is more upset with Josh because she thought Josh had her back, and Josh did pretty much say he wouldn't say Dee's name. So Melissa's super mad. We don't see any backlash from Dee since she's cut for most of the footage, but I'm imagining that she was probably pretty ticked off too. Overall, I feel like this episode was pretty boring and there's not a ton to discuss. It seems like people are starting to freak out about the Red Skulls. I feel like TJ is also hinting like, you know, the final is approaching. These things need to be settled and we need to figure out who is going to be able to run the final. We do get to see a glimpse of Corey talking to his daughter on video chat, and it seems like she's pretty sad and missing him a lot. So I thought personally that this was going to be setting up like a storyline for Corey to lose, because he pretty much said that, you know, he feels so bad being there. I thought maybe Corey might even make a move and just remove himself from the competition because he felt pretty guilty about being away from his daughter. So when I'm first watching the episode, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, maybe Corey's going to leave. However, he does say he wants to use this as motivation to earn his Red Skull like ASAP, and if he doesn't get it, then he probably would go home, I'm assuming. Now, the daily challenge that they had to do seemed crazy and was basically a strength and endurance based challenge. Now, the challenge was called Tanks a Lot. Pretty much what the players were doing was carrying heavy shit across the finish line. So there was a couple phases. The challengers were split into 5 teams, so I'm going to name those off here. Team 1 was Josh, Corey, and Casey. Team 2, Melissa, Rogan, and Bananas. Team 3, Anissa, Kyle, and Jenny. Team 4, Nelson, Nani, and Swaggy. And Team 5, Fessy, Bailey, and Dee. So it seems like the teams are pretty evenly stacked in my opinion. At this point in the game, I feel like everyone's pretty much a strong competitor, so any challenge can go any direction. So pretty much in phase 1, the players are just carrying this heavy junk to get it into their bin, and whatever bin weighs the most at the end, that the top 2 teams are going to move on to the next round. So now in phase 2, you're pretty much strapped to this sled, I would call it, or a bin, and you're dragging it across the field and across the finish line. So the top 2 teams that moved on to the next round were Bailey, Fessy, and Dee. Again, we aren't even seeing Dee in this footage, so essentially it feels like just Fessy and Bailey. So they were one winner. The other team was Anissa, Kyle, and Jenny. Now phase 2, or round 2, definitely seemed really close compared to the first round. It seemed, at least according to the editing, that it was coming down to the last person to pull their sled or their bin across the finish line. So Fessy finished with no problem, of course, because he's like huge. Kyle did pretty good too. And now everyone on the teams have finished except Anissa on one team and Dee on the other team. So at this point, it's just whoever's making it across that finish line is going to win for their team. But when it comes down to it, the winning team overall was Fessy, Bailey, and Dee. So right away, thinking about Dee being the tribunal, I'm wondering if she's going to try to get revenge on Josh maybe, or Bananas for sending her into the elimination the previous week. As for the house vote, Kyle and Corey are both campaigning. They both seem to be ready to go. And when it comes down to time for the house to make the vote, ultimately they end up going with Corey. Kyle did plead his case, but Corey, of course, pulled the father card and pretty much said, you know, he's got a child at home and it's do or die for him. And the house sympathized with him and they voted for Corey. So we know Corey's going in for sure. Now we just need the tribunal to pick their 3 to interview, and then one of those 3 will be going against Corey in the end. Now Bailey is in the tribunal, so I'm thinking right away Swaggy is definitely going to be one of those 3 because that's her husband, and obviously she wants him to earn a red skull, so Swaggy is most likely going to be one of the 3. So they do end up picking Swaggy, and then they also pick Kyle and Josh to be the 3 now. Pretty much at this point, everyone wants to go in it, and everyone wants to earn their red skull, so it's definitely going to be interesting how this is going to play out. It could go either way. You know, if it's something that seems intimidating, Bailey might not want to vote for Swaggy to go in if she's afraid he might lose, so it could go either way. Also, Corey appears to have an ankle injury. He even skips going out to the bars with everyone just so he can stay home and rest and ice his ankle. So depending on the challenge, Corey could be at a disadvantage just because of his injury. When it comes down to it, the tribunal with a vote of 2-1 votes for Swaggy to go in against Corey. The elimination is called Launch Button, and pretty much what's happening is players are hanging on a bungee cord harness and they have to swing back and forth. And pretty much they're swinging to one side and pushing a button, swinging to the other side and pushing a button. And pretty much whoever lights all the buttons or pushes all the buttons the fastest wins. The only thing is every time you push the button, it either turns on or it lights up or turns off. So you don't want to hit a button more than once pretty much. So you have to remember which ones you've already hit. Luckily for Corey, this doesn't seem to really have much pressure on the ankle. They might use a little bit of their feet as they're kind of pushing off and swinging side to side, but overall I think this probably was like the best opportunity for Corey to win with his ankle injury. But I am wondering if he does end up winning, how will that affect him in the future? So the race is pretty close actually. Swaggy is killing it. I'm assuming Swaggy is going to win because he has taken the lead so far. Both players were kind of struggling in the beginning, trying to figure out like the best strategy to get going and just get into the groove of things. And Swaggy figured that out before Corey. So Swaggy is in the lead. And as time goes on, Corey is just catching. In the end, Corey caught up enough just to take that lead and ultimately finish before Swaggy, sending Swaggy home. So of course Bailey is going to be upset about this because that's her man and he is gone now. But I think that, you know, this could be an opportunity for the house to turn on Bailey because she's pretty much missing her other half. Or this could be a chance for Bailey to thrive on her own, not have to rely and kind of politic for her game and Swaggy's game. So it's just her now. So I could see this being an advantage too. But overall, this episode just seemed kind of boring. It is kind of frustrating with Dee getting cut out. And while I understand what MTV is trying to do, there have definitely been, you know, like I mentioned in the last video, cases of things like this happening in the past, and they haven't gone to this extent to kind of censor a challenger. And so I'm wondering if it might have to do with a lawsuit. So I've heard rumors that Dee and her legal team are going to try to sue MTV. I've heard some rumors that Dee and a legal team might try to sue MTV. So I'm wondering if maybe if they are airing footage of her in a negative light, that might help her lawsuit. So maybe that's why they're removing footage of her, or they're just trying to censor her and get rid of her since they're cutting ties with her. Again, I just feel like it definitely makes the storyline not as interesting because I'm assuming she would have blew up at everyone who put her in the previous elimination. You know, you don't get to see her pretty much interviewing people and as a member of the tribunal. She's just like not shown even on the daily challenge. So going forward, I'm interested to see how this will play out, how long she's going to last, and are they really just gonna hide her this whole time, you know? So that is pretty much it for the challenge chat this week. I have been doing a lot of reading and kind of watching videos that are also online right now about the challenge. So like AfterBuzz TV has been doing some interviews with former cast members. I know Naya and Jordan were gonna sit down and do like an interview together. And so everything that happened around Dee still seems to be being talked about, which is good. So there's a lot of conversations going on about it. I just wish that it wouldn't affect the way that the season is aired, you know? So let me know your thoughts on the challenge below. Do you like the censorship? Do you not? Who do you think is going to go home next? Alright Alright guys, well that was it for this video, and if you like content like this, make sure you like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!